Hi, this is Debbie Whitlock with Sound Financial Partners, and I'm joined here today with my friend Stacey Romberg, attorney at law with more than 20 years of wills, estate planning, business, probate experience. And we're here today to answer some of the common questions that we both hear when we're out in the community. I hear it inside my own practice, and I know, Stacey, you probably hear it a lot yourself. So we're going to start with the big one. Why do you need a will? Why does anyone, married, single, or otherwise, need a will?
In my opinion, every adult needs a will. And that's regardless of if you're married, single, kids, no kids, Bill and Melinda Gates, or just the family down the street. And there are a number of reasons why I recommend that. And most importantly, it allows you to step up and deal with the really scary issue that we all want to avoid in life, which is we're all going to die. It's a horrible truth, but it is inevitable. It's going to happen. So how can we deal with that effectively? And it helps us go through our own internal process of what we really want to have happen and what kind of legacy we want to leave behind and how we want our assets to be distributed, and to actually go through that process of then putting it on paper. So then everybody knows that's going to be handled correctly at the time of your death. That is a really empowering, comforting thing. And it's also comforting for the family members, because they tend to have, a lot of questions if somebody dies and you haven't had a lot of conversations about what you want to have place. Nobody really knows what you want. And so having a will clarifies exactly what you want, right, which is a wonderful thing.
It is. What about this? Sometimes I hear people say, if I don't have a will, my children, my family, they'll just take care of dividing things up, and it'll work out okay because they all love each other.
I hear that all the time. Okay. That's a really common misperception, or the perception of, well, I can just tell people what I want, and then when I die, they'll do it. Mm-hmm. And in reality, that's not going to happen, because in Washington, the laws of intestate succession apply. And what those laws are, it's essentially a formula that goes through your family mechanics in terms of whether you're married or single, whether or not you have kids, whether or not your parents are alive, whether you have brothers and sisters. And then based on that, it splits the assets according to a formula. Mm-hmm. And when families try to do their own thing, as opposed to splitting the assets the way that they're required to by law, they can go ahead and do that, but that may invoke gift tax consequences, mm-hmm, because they're making a gift of property that they're legally entitled to do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that, because I know I hear that a lot. I mean, ultimately, having a will just eliminates so much of the chaos at such a time of confusion and crisis for people. And really, because the money girl in me says this, it also really cuts down on expenses, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. Trust me. Because a lot of times, say, if somebody doesn't have a will, who's going to be your personal representative? In a lot of cases, there's not an obvious choice, and the family may or may not agree on that. So sometimes you have to have a hearing and note it up before the court commissioner and go down and brief it and argue it. And I mean, that certainly puts money in the attorney's pockets, right, but that's not how I like to make a living. I'd rather make a living effectuating what people want to do rather than dealing with the fighting.
Right, and ultimately it just leaves less money to be distributed amongst the family that they could be taking to use for their own best purposes, to invest and save for their own futures, right?
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We've been visiting with Stacey Romberg. Be sure to come back and learn more of the answers to the questions you've always wanted to know about wills and estate planning. Thank you very much.